But did you know that Africa is the place where the body of the first man was found? My daddy says that makes it a place where all people originated from. I'm from Africa. You from Africa. You African booty scratcher. I'm
always reaching. We make niggas disappear like that triangle out Bermuda. They can't find his body, but they know that I'm the shooter. I say cut my sentence in half, and I spread a little rumor. Deal? Well, you can look in Oklahoma if you want to find them Sooners.
Do it to y'all.
What it do, what it do, what it do, what it do. What it do, what it do, what it do. Back for another classic. Back for another classic in the book of the Strictly Ghetto Engine. In today's chapter, it's the homegrown Black Seminole Nation history. And what I mean by this homegrown Black Seminole Nation history is that nigga ain't new to this. A nigga wasn't born and a nigga wasn't sworn into this. Nigga was born and grew to this. Since I was a young buck. And you know what I'm saying? I was at my folks' house the other day, helping cleaning out the garage. And I came across this legendary study that always been at the tip of my fingers. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause my grandpa always been trying to put us up on game. This is from back in the 90s. Hold on. And this is from back in the 90s. Got this book right here, big study. Got the Estella, but I gotta figure out how to say that word, Estella, but that mean black. Got the Freeman. Big book. Big book. Whole bunch of information about the Black Seminoles. I'm gonna make it so crazy. You know what I'm saying? I just had a debate with Sean P. And I put the dude Joseph Apollo on blast because I was saying that because he was saying that he connected the Gullah to the people in Oklahoma as far as the Black Seminoles. And I'm like, nah, because I ain't really never came up like that. But I do want to give a shout out to him because he did really try to help my peoples out back in the 80s and back in the 90s whenever the as far as whenever the nation started getting over us started getting over on us as far as not sharing the benefits. You know what I'm saying? So he really did try to help. He really did come with a great study. And I really think this is his study that I came across. That I've been having at the tip of my fingers. And I think this is his whole argument as far as when he was gonna go to court with him, and whenever they got ran up out of whenever they got ran up out of the little council that they had. And when the Seminole Indian said can't no lawyers come into their council, or can't no outsiders come in and stuff like that. So I really don't think that he was able to get this off as far as giving them the information and stuff like this, which I'm gonna be sharing a lot of this stuff with y'all for sure. But I think that this is his whole outline as far as fighting the government to try to prove that basically that we, you know what I'm saying, that we Seminoles and that we share the heritage and we should be sure every benefit that they get. And I really got to get into this. It's like I said, I had just got it this other day. So I really just ain't read it all. It's like I say, it's super thick. So it's definitely it's gonna be an interesting read of what y'all came up with. And a lot of this stuff is really some stuff that he typed up 1980. December 1980. So it's crazy that I came across this, and you know what I'm saying, I've been doing my own little studies about the situation, and I'm very interested to see how many cross references and how many times we're gonna cross up on the information that he have and what I got. And man, this is crazy. I came across this on the for real though. This is crazy because I think this gonna give me a good outline on my approach or going as far as going at the nation and going at the government to where they need to recognize us as indigenous people that really have a gripe about this soil, that really got a stake in this American soil. And I think they tried to swindle us up out of that when they tried to lay the foundation for 1823. And I'm really going to attack that because I think that's their foundation for saying that we not natives of this land to where they trying to say that you know what I'm saying, that we were slaves. And it's crazy because I came across this part in her, which I was just kind of just brief reading everything, just kind of just going by, just kind of see what was all in her. But I did come across a thing in her where the government or the House of Representatives, they had an argument about this going back and forth in 1852 before the Civil War. And it was kind of some crazy stuff that that some of these politicians or some of these governors, whoever the people is in Congress during that time, or that was with the House of Representatives, because the people from the North, sounded like the real niggas, and the niggas from the South, and as far as the people from the South, they sounded like the niggas that's going against niggas. That shit crazy. That shit sound crazy, man. So I'm gonna bring that to the light. That argument, that was crazy. 1852. Man, there's a lot of good stuff within this little study right here. That's for sure. Another crazy thing that I came across was hold on, let me get this real quick. Another thing that I came across was this Webster's New Collegiate Dictionary from 1961. Came across this Webster's New Collegiate Dictionary from 1961. And I'm definitely gonna share some of the, some of the definitions in here. If you have any particular words that you want me to look up or share, that I'll be able to put up on my post, just gone and put it in the comments, and I'll definitely gonna, definitely gonna share those definitions, because I found some of this stuff very interesting as far as Black and Negro and Indian and American and Native and Blackamoor and Maroon. It was some interesting definitions in this book, a real deal book, Webster's, a New Collegiate Dictionary. That's gonna be an interesting read. But just like I say, it's crazy. Just like I said, man, my grandpa always had this. Niggas always had this at the house. But just like I always say, you know what I'm saying? Growing up in the city, and that's really not functioning with this, as far as with the Seminole Indians like that, but come from that, and from what I get from my peoples is that said basically they wasn't fucking with niggas, so we wasn't fucking with them. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically how it kind of go. Once niggas seen that they really weren't, once they really wasn't playing for it, and that really kind of been going on since back in the day. There been a lot of little underlying hate type shit going on, a whole bunch of shit, which I'm figuring out more. Just like I say, I never did really, really pay too much attention to it like that. Like I'm into it, don't really know everything, because it always been right there, and it's just a question away. You know what I'm saying, to ask my peoples. But you know what I'm saying, RIP to my grandma. She did pass, and you know what I'm saying, I wasn't able to talk to her too much about her peoples like I wanted to, but thank God that my grandpa here, and I can still get some game from him and stuff like that. And it's like I said, we're gonna be having a Cudjoe reunion here in a couple of weeks. Matter of fact, next week on the 9th. Well, not on the 9th, but as far as that weekend. And it's gonna be some good information. It's like I say with this right here. Like I said, we had Lance and Lawrence. Like I told you, that they played for the Harlem Globetrotters. And they was the two that was on that a documentary that I showed with my Aunt Helen. And it says this work is dedicated to Lawrence and Lance Cudjoe, Harlem Globetrotters, collegiate college professors, World War II heroes, leaders of their people, twin brothers. So just like I said, yeah, man, I did go in on Joseph Apollo because I feel like it's a reach for them to just, just put the African on us like that, and to just say that we was doing this and we was doing that. And just like I say, man, I come up around these people, man, and I ain't see it. You know what I'm saying? But just like I say, he did help my peoples. He did, put this together. He did put this study together. And just like I said, we're going to really go into it because he was really trying to, kind of what I get from this, he was really trying to prove that Black Seminoles really had a stake in America in some type of way. You know what I'm saying? They should be justified. And I don't really think that they really knew that whole angle or kind of the whole ramifications of this whole thing as far as in America and the New World and just the whole story. You know what I'm saying? They tried to get as much information as they could, but back then, the information is not just available like it is for us. You know what I'm saying? The information is not just available for them the same way it is for us, like the way I can just hit the link and I can just get to a certain type of information that they was probably, that they probably got stuck on back in the day. My grandpa used to tell me, like, that's kind of what discouraged him from kind of looking up more into stuff and kind of digging in more to try to, what I'm saying, really get that fight for our people to really kind of, what I'm saying, get the same, to not be left out. Like, what I'm saying, like the way we was left out. But he said he was kind of discouraged because he couldn't get to the information that he really needed to get to, because they said, oh, well, the information is in Britain, or the information is down in Florida, or the information is in Spain, or the information is just, somewhere that's not in Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? But now, just like I say, we just a link away and a click away from having that information, and to be able to give a stronger argument uh, about us being Black Indians and being Seminoles and being part of the indigenous group from America, part of the people that being found in America by the Europeans. You know what I'm saying? And I'm still gonna push my line. And just like I say, it's definitely a couple things in here that's shocking. That's that's definitely that's on my side of the argument. The people, calling themselves what they call themselves, and as far as what the government back then in the 1850s was, as far as how they looked at the people. And they also told on themselves as far as them uh, making a way to hunt Black people down there during that time, when them not knowing or really having a clear case of saying, yeah, that these just runaways, that they really own these people, that they really knew these people, which I'm sure within this information, just like I said, I'm gonna put out a little piece by piece, kind of go through little section through section, throughout this build of the strictly of the book of the Strictly Ghetto Engine. And just, just putting this out, just putting this information out there for the people. And it's like I say, I think that this is his whole outline as far as that they was going to present the state and the government to show, hold on, that these Black people is deserving of everything that these Indians is getting, because they've been here doing this. And I think they really failed on it. Just like I said, I really just ain't dug too deep up in it. But obviously they failed because it's still going on to where we ain't getting the same benefits. And the same thing, just kind of like, they saying, well, you can't get this because you're not a full native at this certain time, even though you a freeman, but you're not going to get the full benefit. And that's what I'm fighting for, is the full benefit for all my peoples, not no halfway goofy ass shit. Because on the for real though, my peoples never really did fuck with the benefits like that, even though the benefits was available. Like, so like on my grandma, her daddy and them is be like more of considered a full blood Indian within their eyes. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. So my grandpa used to be kind of getting at her and stuff like that. Like, damn, why you don't be getting the stuff for your kids and stuff like that? Because you can be getting more benefits and stuff like that. But because her sisters and everything didn't get everything, she didn't want to leave her sisters out. Or she kind of felt, I don't know, she kind of felt some type of way about that. And that's why I kind of feel kind of fucked up about not really asking my grandma about that side of the family like that. More kind of really been, that's like I say, when we growing up, ain't really talking about family history, ain't really talking about the people that we ain't seeing. You know what I'm saying? As far as the old heads. You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't able to see my grandma's mother. You know what I'm saying? Like my mother was. So, you know what I'm saying? I'll be able to get, you know what I'm saying, some sit down with people that was, you know what I'm saying? It's like I say, my grandma's sisters is still alive. One of my grandma's brothers is still alive. So I'll be able to get some sit down with them to be able to get more information as far as what was going on with the people, that they can go back so far to recognize what was going on with the Black Seminoles within their area. What was, like, what was they doing? What was the situation for them? What was the things they was hearing? And if they have any history as far as going back dealing with the Black Seminoles other than just within that time frame. Just to go back as far as we can, with as much knowledge, uh, with the elders that we still do have available. You know what I'm saying, with that information. But just like I say, it was crazy that I came across this because I've been, lightweight telling people that, my folks always been trying to put us up on game. It's always little stuff like this. And this is the book that was at the house the whole time. You know what I'm saying? That I always been seeing my whole life. And never did really, jump into it. For one, it's a big little study. You know what I'm saying? So nigga really wasn't ever into no reading or nothing like that. But that's definitely one of my hobbies nowadays. Just kind of, getting into the books, getting into the history, and getting into that story, and really trying to figure out what the fuck was going on in the 1800s, 1700s, 16, 15. You know what I'm saying? To really figure out where a nigga from. You know what I'm saying? Where is a nigga really from around this motherfucker? You know what I'm saying? Because I just ain't believing anything a would say. I don't give a fuck what nobody say, nigga. I don't believe anything the motherfucking would say. You know what I'm saying? And this is for all the black people that really do believe that black people was in America. And I feel like shit, I got the motherfucking line right here with the Seminoles trying to connect it back to all the other indigenous black people that was found over here. Now, some people may feel some type of way. I don't give a fuck how you feel, nigga. I'm just looking at information and bringing information to my people and have the people weigh it up. And we're going to go from there. And just like I say, this is a Joseph Apollo study. He did really try to help my peoples, but I don't agree with him saying that we from Africa. And that's a fact. But like I say, I'm gonna be giving up that game right there to the folks. Throughout this time, I'm be going down section by section and kind of giving you a whole brief, but giving you a whole rundown of that. Giving you a whole rundown of that for sure. And I'm supposed to go out and pull up and roll up. I'm so glad that you showed up. To comment, like, subscribe, tell a friend and do it again. And we got Joseph Apollo talking on the little get down that I had with Sean Peter one night. And I'll be pressing my line, be pressing my issue. And he just be giving up game, you know what I'm saying? And he had played this video. Because I guess what he be trying to do, I guess he be thinking that he be playing shit that's going justify what he's saying. It's supposed to weigh more than what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? But he just be giving up more in game. You know what I'm saying? He just be giving up more game. You know what I'm saying? So what we gonna do is, once I look more into these documents, as far as his whole study, because this is Joseph Apollo's study, and this is somebody that they're really hanging their hat on. It's like I say, I don't believe what he's saying about us coming from Africa until he can really just prove that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna share everything, the good and the bad, as far as what he's saying, that agree and don't agree with me. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna leave nothing out. You know what I'm saying? I ain't no buster like that. I'm trying to get to the truth. But just like I say, I'm gonna bring my information also to be able to test what he said against the history, to be able to try to get a more clear point, or try to get a more clear view of the Black Seminoles in the history and the heritage. So I'm definitely gonna be taking those out. You know what I'm saying? I was listening, but now since I got the whole outline, I'm gonna really listen to what he said within his video. You know what I'm saying? Because like I say, I definitely appreciate him, taking out his time and helping my kinfolk. I appreciate that for sure. I appreciate him doing that for sure, taking out the time, helping my kinfolk, and really trying to fight for us to be able to get the same equal grounds as all other Seminoles. But I just think that they went at it the wrong way. And then I just think that they had the wrong angle. And I just don't think that they had enough information to be able to justify. I don't think they had enough information to be able to justify with the government saying, all right, yeah, they got a foot in this land over here. They was found over here. They was part of the indigenous people that was found over here by Europeans, and they are justified at getting all the benefits, and we should be getting back benefits. Matter of fact, I'm fit to start adding Trump. I'm fit to start doing videos adding Trump in the government. Yeah, I'ma just jump over the motherfucking Seminole Nation. I'ma just start, pointing out my evidence and start adding Trump on the argument. Like, Trump, nigga, what's up? Niggas need to be indigenized. Look at this. I got facts on everything. Fit to start doing Trump letters, nigga. Trump gonna fuck around, nigga, and push the motherfucking shit through for a nigga, for some real nigga shit. That's a fact. Nigga finna start doing the motherfucking Trump videos, nigga, for the motherfucking black Seminoles. These niggas been over here getting over on niggas. We got real paperwork. He up here acting like he want to motherfucking fight for the goddamn indigenous people. He acting like he wanna stand on some American shit. To start doing some videos addressing Trump, nigga. Hey, I got this information. I need for y'all to look at this because black people was found over here in America, and we should be getting the same benefits. Matter of fact, we are definitely owed back much reparations. Y'all taking the land and y'all getting at us in war, and y'all ain't built it back up how y'all supposed to be. How they be going at war with other people, you know what I'm saying? And if they, I guess within their eyes, if they break it, then they gotta pay for it. You know what I'm saying? So since you came over here destructing us and getting at us, you gotta pay for it too, nigga, like you doing everybody else around the world that you done ran around the world and then fucked up, nigga. You gotta pay for this too. And that's a fact. Just coming with more and more information to prove that the Maroons ain't all black people. Ain't all these niggas ain't part of it, nigga. That's a fact. Niggas doing their own thing. Niggas got their own get down. I ain't hating on it. I'm pushing the Maroon, Seminole, American, Indian, the Aboriginal too. Cause it's all within the documents. You know what I'm saying? It's all there. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm pushing. And man, that's the course. That's, you know what I'm saying? It's just crazy how a nigga kind of just got on this path like this. You know what I'm saying? And kind of what's going on with the government right now. How they trying to say citizens and people from America and kicking people out of America and doing all type of shit. Man, this shit like right on time. But man, I'm gonna just keep doing my studying for sure. And I'm gonna just keep looking and doing deep dives and really trying to, make the connection for the people that's connected like that. If you ain't really connected like that, it ain't for you. It ain't for you. It ain't for you, homie. It's for my folks. You know what I'm saying? Nigga family go back and look at this shit. You know what I'm saying? If you connected with it like that, they gonna tap in. MMA. we deep with it. They got all the surnames in there. Got all the surnames. I can't believe I've been having that the whole time. But that's just how life goes sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Just how life goes sometimes, man. And it ain't even about shitting on niggas, man. It's like I say, man. I ain't even trying to be arguing with niggas, man. I just present the information, man. It's just the information. You know what's so crazy too, though? Because it ain't my information. Nigga kind of like standing on some woods and shit. But it's some information, though. You know what I'm saying? Some is better than nothing. And I'm going to just keep putting it all out there. But it's like I said, I thought that was real crazy that I came across that. And I've been having it, not knowing that it was this dude right here. It's like I said, I feel like he got a lot of flaws within this argument. Shit, he had to have a lot of flaws because the nigga didn't even fucking win the damn argument. You know what I'm saying? So the flaws is definitely there, and I'm there to patch up the flaws. And if I can't patch up the flaws, then I'm going to put in so much work that the next person will be able to put it together. Because it's just too much. It's just too much. It's just too much coincidence going on. And I think they trying to start at Moultrie Creek at 1823. And when me going to the 1597, shit, that's 200 plus years before. That's why I'm like, man, who the fuck is the people in St. Augustine? Who is the people in Santa Catalina de Africa? How is all these black settlements and towns popping up? And we gonna connect it. We gonna connect it for sure. That's a fact. I'm gonna connect it for the folks. I'm gonna connect it for the folks, man. I'm gonna be the one that connected for the folks, man. And you know what's so crazy? It's like I say, a lot of black people is really Seminoles, and they don't really know it because they was took up out of there. And that's another thing, man. If I can connect when certain people was took, and you know where they was took to, to be able to connect the family more, because it's a lot of people got took, man. That's part of the family. A lot of people got took from Florida. That's part of the family. That's just scattered out around this motherfucker, man. And hopefully I can help a lot of people with that, man. Hopefully I can help a lot of people with that, man. I think a lot of people in Arkansas, a lot of people, if they got a lot of origin in Arkansas, you know what I'm saying? They got a lot of origins. For real, though. I really think them niggas is really Seminoles, for real. But I'm going to just keep putting the primaries out there. I'm going to just keep putting the primaries out there, man. It's all primary, man. It's all primary, man. It's all primary, man. all primary, man. This is all. This is all. And you know, that's why I need to start putting some of my stuff on paper. You know, but I take the digital way, I take the YouTube way, and I take the video way. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say the book of the strictly ghetto engine, because I got chapters of me talking and presenting information, which is primary sources, which is, you know, back then they was just doing it in big form, in book form. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing it in video form, and and I don't know if the videos is gonna be available forever. You know, I don't know if these YouTube videos gonna be available forever. Uh, I probably need to go on and get some type of saving device so I can start saving these videos. Uh, or just start writing books. You know what I'm saying? And preserving the information like that. You know what I'm saying? Because this ain't written, but it's kind of typed up and printed, and it got a lot of different. It got a lot of different. It got a lot of different print ups and a lot of different write ups. So basically, this is basically kind of like the same thing I'm doing now, but it's just in book form, and I'm just doing it in video form. So, you know, and just like I say, I'm definitely appreciative of him putting in his time and, you know, making it available to where I got this information from Joseph Apollo, his whole study. And this is a person that, you know what I'm saying, the Pan Africans, you know what I'm saying, kind of like really stand on, as far as, you know, they kind of go to dude, as far as them having their argument and saying, okay, yeah, y'all African. and it's like I say, my thing is, if you found over here in America, then you get the terminology of other people, other inhabitants that's in America, point blank. And it's definitely, I'm gonna definitely keep pointing out that even in the late 1700s in South America, they was finding new tribes, new people. I'm gonna say new people, but they was finding black people within those area natives, and that was moving in a native type fashion, and was moving in a native type fashion. So this is definitely gonna be some good builds. This is definitely gonna be some good builds for the folks, and I'm excited. I'm excited. So I'm finna go on and pull. I'm finna go on and roll up and pull up. And we first to listen to Joseph Apollo, man. You know, I'm gonna really need for y'all, if you really locked into this MMA shit, if you really locked in on some Black Seminole shit, I need for you to really lock in on this Joseph Apollo video kind of a little bit, because we're gonna add all this up as far as his studies that he put out in the 1980s, because them is, you know, when I'm supposed to be reading, or not be reading, when I'm supposed to be studying and reading, you know, giving y'all the information also, is it's 1980, like 1980 right up 1988, some shit from the 70s. It's gonna be a good bill, man. I'm gonna do it real proper. But we first have gone and listen to Joseph Apollo. And just like I said, let me show you his name again. Man. It's crazy how things work sometimes. this argument to the government. Crazy, man. Crazy how that crazy, man. That's crazy, man. I can't believe that. Crazy. It's supposed to get crazy.
But I just wanted to kind of like, you know what? I am gonna do it. Fuck it. I'm finna do it. Hold on. Your mother, bitch. You got so much to say, nigga.
That's why I'ma always stay on this whole ass nigga bumper.
Speak nothing about what you got going on. Y'all let me know if y'all can hear this. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear this. Drop that 1 in the chat if you can hear this.
Welcome to Slavery and Its Legacies, a podcast of the Gilder Lehrman Center for the Study of Slavery, Resistance, and Abolition. Slavery and Its Legacies interviews visiting scholars, activists, and others about their contributions to the understanding of slavery, past and present, and its ongoing role in the development of the modern world.
Hello, this is Tom Thurston, and today I'm speaking with my good friend, Joe Apala. Joe is originally from Oklahoma. He was, up until just a couple of years ago, I think, professor at James Madison University in Virginia. And we've had a long history of working together on various projects around the Gullah people of South Carolina and Georgia, Sierra Leone, and others. But today he's going to begin by talking about the Black Seminole. So in some ways he's returning to his birthplace of Oklahoma. And as I usually ask people, Joe, first of all, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
How did you come to the subject of the Black Seminole people?
In a very roundabout way. I had learned about the Gullah people in college. One of the anthropology courses I took touched on that subject very briefly. But like so many people, just learning about a group of people in the United States who've preserved a great deal of their African heritage and their language and culture, even very briefly, I was fascinated by the subject. I remember going to the university.
Y'all heard what he said, right? African American culture. Listen to him.
Found the Gullah people of South Carolina and Georgia, Sierra Leone, and others. But today he's going to begin by talking about the Black Seminole. So in some ways he's returning to his birthplace of Oklahoma. And as I usually ask people, Joe, first of all, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
How did you come to the subject of the Black Seminole people?
In a very roundabout way. I had learned about the Gullah people in college. One of the anthropology courses I took touched on that subject very briefly. But like so many people, just learning about a group of people in the United States who've preserved a great deal of their African heritage and their language and culture, even very briefly, I was fascinated by the subject. I remember going to the university library then back in the 1970s, and there just wasn't much there. But then I graduated from college and applied to the Peace Corps, and they sent me to Sierra Leone. And I, of course, had no idea that there was a connection between the Gullah and Sierra Leone when I got there. But I went to the university library in Sierra Leone at Fort Bay College,
yeah.
and I found a very important book by Lorenzo Turner, African-American linguist, who wrote the first really important work on the Gullah people and their language.
One more time. Who was that person?
And a very important book by Lorenzo Turner, African-American linguist.
Lorenzo Turner. Very important book by Lorenzo Turner, an African American linguist. What are we doing? What are we doing? Really, what are we doing? What are we doing here? At the end of the day, what are we doing here?
On the Gullah people and their language.
Hmm.
And I found, among other things, that doing research among the Gullah, he had actually interviewed a lady who knew a song in the Mende language of Sierra Leone. And he had also found many proper names as well as words in everyday use in Gullah that came from Sierra Leonean languages.
So we have someone who did link name here, you know what I'm saying, and try to.
And I immediately was excited about
Absolutely.
this. And I also found some very interesting articles that had been written in Britain by a young graduate student in linguistics whose name was Ian Hancock. And Hancock had looked at Turner's work and he looked at some other information and said, wait, there's so much linguistic connection between the Gullah and Sierra Leonean indigenous languages, but also the Creole language, English-based Creole that's spoken in Sierra Leone. And this was back in the 1960s. And he was saying, we really don't have the historical knowledge yet to explain the why. But in terms of the linguistic connection, there's no doubt about it. And I would later learn that new scholarship was coming out in the mid 1970s, particularly Peter Wood's book, Black Majority, that actually did show what this connection was all about in historical terms.
Right.
So I finished the Peace Corps, I returned to the United States, and having looked at these articles, I had at first an idea that maybe I would do a master's in linguistics, looking at the Gullah language in particular. I thought I had a leg up on that since I had learned to speak Creole in Sierra Leone. So I called Ian Hancock, linguist, then at the University of Texas. He spent his whole career at the University of Texas. And I told him I had read his articles, I admired them greatly, and I really wanted to do my master's thesis on the Gullah language. And he said, excuse me, he said, where did you tell me you're calling from? And I said, Oklahoma. And then he said, well, if you're in Oklahoma, you don't need to go to South Carolina and Georgia to study Gullah. There are people speaking Gullah right there in Oklahoma. And I said, really? And immediately what came to mind is I had made a bad decision.
Yeah, you were wanting to get out of having seen.
No, it's
Sierra
not. It's
Leone,
not. It's not my notoriously bad opinion of my native state. That's the issue here. The thing is that I had concluded from his writings that Ian Hancock was a really smart guy.
Oh, I see.
And I thought, this guy is the guy I want for my mentor. And him telling me that Gullah was spoken in Oklahoma, I realized he's nuts. And I was trying gracefully to end the phone call.
The phone conversation.
And he could tell what my reaction was. And he said, look, I'm going to give you 2 books. And at that time, there were only 2 books on the subject, and neither were very good. I'm going to give you the names of 2 books. Read the books, and if you're interested, call me back. And I did. I sort of grudgingly took down the titles and got off the phone. And I think I just ignored the whole encounter for a couple of weeks. And then I went and got the books and read them. And I was just absolutely blown away, to use the expression of my generation. And I remember telling my girlfriend at the time about what I was learning about these Black Seminoles. And she later told me she thought I had gone insane. The story just didn't make any sense at all. You know, what you have is a story of enslaved people in the Gullah area, in South Carolina and Georgia, some of them escaping into the Florida wilderness at a time when most of the indigenous Indian population had been wiped out by a combination of diseases brought from Africa, yellow fever, malaria, and Europe, smallpox. So that vast tropical peninsula was basically denuded of its human occupation.
So this is in the colonial era and early 19th century?
This is in the early 1700s.
Oh, okay.
And the Spanish had really used Florida as a military buffer against the British, and they had brought the Indians together into missions that were economic.
I will be proving that that's a lie. That they're talking about they're talking about diseases have depopulated the area. My argument is going to be that they stole the people's identity from slavery, from putting them in slavery, and then automatically with the prima facie the same as us looking like uh, Africans. But that term was just a worldwide term put up on slavery for those people, for black people during that time. And that's how they stole the identity and just said, okay, yeah, the people just gone now, they runaways and all this old crazy ass shit. I'm definitely gonna be pointing that out because they really try to dig that in. So I'm definitely gonna be doing the due diligence to prove that point.
Economically useful, but also the Indians could be brought together as a kind of militia.
The Fort Mose story.
Yes.
In it, yeah.
And well, not really. Fort Mose is later. Initially, they just wanted to use the indigenous peoples and thought, and it was enough for them. But the Indians died out by a combination of these diseases and raids by South Carolina colonists. And by around 1715, probably a little bit earlier, the Spanish had literally no means of protecting their colony, and the Indians were virtually all dead. And so the Spanish issued proclamations saying, if you're a renegade Indian, that is, if you're from a faction that doesn't agree with the larger tribe or larger group, or if you're an enslaved person, come down to Florida and you're free. And they didn't really particularly care how people came down or who came down. They just wanted to repopulate the area with people who were hostile to the British.
So as a buffer.
As a buffer. The mission system had worked for them for a long time. It was broken. They realized they were not going to ever be able to put that back together. So they really essentially wanted to populate their colony with hostiles, with people who would be hostile to British encroachment. Fort Mose gets a lot of attention. Just north of St. Augustine, they constructed this fort, and they brought in black people who had escaped down there and formed them into a kind of militia, uniformed militia, and they were well motivated and they fought well. But so much attention has been given to it because there's a historical record there. Yeah. There's a lot of primary sources on that. And archaeologists have excavated the site.
See, a lot of sources, but that don't mean that because there wasn't sources going on before that, don't mean that the black people was there and they didn't have a stake within that land. And it's funny that they really don't ever go into Santa Catalina to Africa. That's crazy. I want to do they even know about the damn Santa Catalina to Africa?
As well. But most of the black people who went down there were not willing to be regimented in that fashion. They were probably all gullahs, and most of them simply went into the wilderness. And they had some real great advantages, including their ability to grow rice.
Right.
And various other tropical crops as well. And they retained their Gullah language, of course, and retained their agricultural skills. The Indians who came down, most people just assumed they were all of the same tribe. They, in fact, represented many different tribes and many different languages. And the word Seminole is, in fact, a corruption of the Spanish word cimarron, or maroon. Exactly. Yeah. So, as I say, there are many different languages.
Which I did point out that maroon started in America with the people in Panama and with all the other black people within the Central America, South America, and the islands, just the West Indies.
Which is in many different groups, and the Indians tended to settle into towns and communities based on their language groups. as did the blacks.
Right.
And so what you had between the Gullahs and the various Native American populations, what developed there was a kind of multi-ethnic, biracial coalition of people who had the same goal in mind, which is to retain their freedom down there.
Can I get back to the language and kind of creating this multiracial community? Is the Gullah that is spoken in the Sea Islands, is it largely staying in place, or is it evolving and incorporating languages from a variety of different sources?
Well, we've kind of gotten ahead of the story, but to answer that question, I'll have to say that the Black Seminoles there in Florida and their Indian allies fought a number of wars against the United States and its effort to enter into Florida. And as a result of that, there was a kind of diaspora on the part of both the Seminoles and their Black comrades. The Seminoles, some of them wound up actually going into Cuba and the Bahamas. The Cuban group is gone. There's no remnant of them to be found, other than in documents. The Bahamian group, though, they still live.
I just said they gone. People just gone. That's crazy. I'm definitely gonna do a deep dive and pull that out. He's slipping there.
Live in a rural part of one of the main islands, and they have still kept their identity as Black Seminoles. They call themselves Black Indians. But there was another diaspora, that much larger one, that went west into what is now Oklahoma, and some part of that group remained in Oklahoma. Others in 1850 actually went across Texas and settled in northern Mexico with the permission of the Mexican government. And then after Civil War and emancipation, part of that Mexican group came back into the United States, into Texas, at the invitation of the U.S. cavalry. So these communities all still exist. Gullah is still spoken to some extent. Let's put it that way. There are at least recent memories of it in Oklahoma. I think some older people, in fact, I know some older people in Texas still speak it. And I think in Mexico, again, it's something that people remember and can quote from it. But there's nobody, I don't think, living in Mexico who still is a fluent Gullah speaker. Professor Hancock was the one who discovered the fact that the Texas Black Seminoles, who called themselves Seminole Scouts because of their service in the military, he was the one who discovered that they actually were still speaking Gullah, and he has called their language Afro-Seminole Creole. But it's very, very close to Gullah, and I think what you'd have to say is that it has evolved a little bit. There's some structures in there that probably are new and didn't exist in the Gullah their ancestors spoke. But basically, I think you'd have to say it's a conservative form of Gullah. They've been isolated a long time from the main body of Gullah speakers, and so
they've retained a lot of
African grammatical structures. And it looks like, let's put it this way, it looks like the Gullah that was collected in stories in the 19th century.
Could you give me a few examples of words that might have been familiar to a Texas Seminole, say 50, 100 years ago, that would have fallen out of favor?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll give you one. I was just there. Professor Hancock took me down to the Scouts community in Texas. I'd never been there before, although I had met some of their people outside of Texas. I was astonished by one word in particular that they are still using.
Oh, wow.
You don't have to go back 50 years. The gentleman I spoke to used the word we say for the interrogative where. So in Gullah, you would say we at Guine, where are you going? But in Afro-Seminole Creole, you say we say at Guine, where are you going? What really astonished me about that is that Usai is the interrogative for where in Sierra Leone. And so what they had there was obviously a very old and conservative word that the Gullahs themselves have forgotten. but which is still present in Sierra Leone in West Africa.
That's fascinating.
It
So
is,
they
yeah.
really have been a kind of like a
Very conservative.
Yeah,
in their,
yeah,
In their
exactly.
language, sort of like Appalachian English, you
Right,
know,
right.
containing old words. And let me say too, Hancock also went down into Mexico, and he found that they had some loanwords from African languages, including Temne, which is a language spoken widely in Sierra Leone.
Sure. So, so I'm assuming.
So again, we 15 minutes into this, and this dude's still here. Instead of making his reactionary video.
These people don't even know that I got the book. These people don't even know I got this whole outline. They arguing with me. They saying I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not. That shit crazy. Niggas don't know I got the whole outline. And just like I say, I definitely appreciate him helping my peoples to say, hold on, nah, they Seminoles. But I don't agree with them saying that we from Africa. I'm saying we from right over here in America. And that's the line I'm pushing. I don't know what this nigga keep hating on the nigga for that line.
You know, where he claims that he gonna refute some shit, he's still here. And because he's still here, he has a problem with what's being said here without even properly analyzing what is actually being said. What is this dude saying? Is there any truth? Could this shit be verified or substantiated by this dude? Instead of looking at facts, this motherfucker's in the chat crying. Bro, the man literally said not so much spoken by Oklahoma as it is in a few other places. And then he named the places where people still, you can still find them loan words and shit. This is what you don't like. You don't like the.
Yo, I got people in Texas that I'll be able to pull up to be able to say that ain't true what he's saying. What a dude who guru in the building. Like I say, man, it's been at my fingertips. A nigga grandpa been trying to put a nigga up on this shit, man. This shit is the it's like I say, man, this is his whole this is the twins that was in the video. Lawrence and Lance. Niggas play for the Harlem Globetrotters. Professors. Niggas arguing with me. I'm trying to tell these niggas what's going on. I ain't trying to be fronting on niggas and doing nothing like that, but you know what I'm saying? It's good that they brought it up out of me because, you know what I'm saying, the people need to know the truth. You know what I'm saying? The people need to know the truth. And I'll be able to tell you everything that Joseph Apollo said. Even that's why we're listening to this video, because we'll be able to go back within the studies. This is all the studies. We'll be able to go back and really put everything together and, you know, and put the connections together that he wasn't able to put together. You know what I'm saying? I'll be able to put that connection together for sure.
The truth. You don't like the truth at all. Because the man ain't got no dog in the fight. Like literally no dog in the fight. But you got a dumbass nigga in the chat that think he knows something and don't know a fucking thing. Because he knows. You just sit here and made claims about the Gullah that you can't even prove. And you got corrected on some real shit. Straight up. Because your dumbass don't know no better, bro.
You know, another thing about that's crazy. Another thing about that's crazy. And within this whole paperwork, Gullah ain't nowhere in there. Within this whole build, Gullah is not in there. How Gullah ain't in this whole bill to fight for the government, fight against the government, going into court? How is Gullah not in there? Man, this shit crazy. I'ma just keep doing me. I'm just keep putting out the information, and niggas can just weigh it up how they want to weigh it up. I ain't fit to force niggas to buy the dope.
You can't sit here and make the claim.
And Florida wars, that the Florida wars with the U.S. government, and as a result, it sounds like of a negotiated peace, so that the Seminoles, the Indians, and their African American allies in the area are not captured and re-enslaved. They're being given safe passage as part of a deal to these various places. Is that including the Bahamas and Cuba, or how did that all work out?
Well, there were two wars that they were involved in particular. The first Seminole War is when Andrew Jackson marched in and essentially took Florida for the United States, and some of the Black Seminoles at that point migrated to Cuba and to the Bahamas. But the second Seminole War was a much bigger thing. It lasted about 6 years. It's one of the longest wars in American history. And it just sort of went on endlessly. It was a guerrilla war in which the Black Seminoles really were the spearhead of the Seminole forces. And the American army just simply could not crush them, no matter how hard they tried. What the commanding general, Jessup, at one point, wrote back to the War Department and said, "Gentlemen, be assured this is a Negro and not an Indian war." And he complained that there was too much influence on the part of the blacks over the Indian leaders, that the Indians would never agree to emigrate west unless the blacks agreed as well. And of course, the Black Seminoles were not going to agree to that because they feared if outside of their context in Florida, they would be enslaved. And of course, the interesting thing about them is many of them by the 1830s had been born in freedom, maybe their parents, maybe even their grandparents. So they could not imagine surrendering. So you basically had a standoff. And the American soldiers who fought them came over a period of time to really admire them. One captain who wrote his memoirs of the war said, he said, 10 armed Negroes with a knowledge of the frontier are sufficient to set it afire from one end to the other. So they appreciated them. And what you see also is they had, aside from their fighting skills and the fact that they could feed themselves well, they also had an African resistance to malaria and yellow fever that neither the Indians nor the white folks fighting them had.
One more time.
Are sufficient to.
I just pointed out the other day that the whole royal slaves died from yellow fever in 1654. Everybody. I just pointed that out. So all this, he getting hyped up, that don't mean nothing.
And
it's like I say, I appreciate Joseph Apollo doing what he's doing, but in the 80s, during this time, he didn't have all the information. He had what he had, but he didn't have everything.
Here goes the African.
They also had their fighting skills. We appreciated them. And from one
a little bit earlier, this Negro just said it.
The fire from one end to the other. So they appreciated them. And what you see also is they had, aside from their fighting skills and the fact that they could feed themselves well, they also had an African resistance to malaria and yellow fever that neither the Indians nor the white folks fighting them had.
An African resistance to malaria that neither the Indians time ain't, because we know
Any American soldier who an army medical doctor who examined the Black Seminoles before before they traveled west, and a doctor who had treated many American soldiers with tropical fevers. Yeah. Many of them died. He, in his own memoir, he said, "These are the finest looking people I've ever seen." And after years of fighting, they were still in great physical condition, which was a stark contrast to the American soldiers. More American soldiers died of malaria than did of gunshot wounds or battle wounds.
Right.
So they were very outstanding in that regard. And what happened is the Congress actually sold the Black Seminoles to slave speculators, anticipating that the army would win this war and wanting to pay the war debt. And the army just turned these guys away. They came down to Florida.
And you see how he just tried to flip it. And that's one thing I don't agree with him on. He just said to pay a war debt. No, this is slave raids. This is the government opening up, saying, okay, now we own this land. Y'all can come down and hunt. Y'all can come down and claim Black people. I read a case in there where they just said he can have a certain amount. Wasn't it runaways? Wasn't it? Man, people was just coming down, buying people. And they basically just had people basically this was going on some crazy shit, like on some police fed shit. Like they just coming in on some police shit, just arresting people. And then people can just come in and say, all right, well, I want 67, or I want 25, or I want this, or I want that. That's what was going on with the government. And the army, the niggas that was fighting these niggas, wasn't letting it happen. I don't be pointing all that out. This shit get crazy. This shit really get crazy, man. And I really think that my people really got done a bad deal really during the time, and there was really a lot of racism going on, big time racism. I think, man, nigga bring a whole new argument, man. Nigga really might have some, really might have some a way around here. For real though, on some like groundbreaking. For real. I ain't even playing.
When it builds itself.
Collect there, yeah.
Yeah, and they just turned them wasted. You go back to Congress, deal with them on this. Because that just was not going to work. The army was really desperate to bring this thing to an end, and they did finally negotiate with the Black Seminoles there, and they allowed them, amazingly, to migrate from Tampa Bay to New Orleans and up the Mississippi River, then up the Arkansas River into what would become Indian Territory or Oklahoma. But they allowed them to travel free, of course, with their families, with their personal possessions, and with their weapons in their hands.
This is in the Deep South with slavery, an entrenched institution.
Exactly. And indeed, when they passed through the state of Arkansas, the governor sent an urgent message to the president of the United States asking what the army is doing, escorting armed Negroes through his state. But the situation in Florida was simply unprecedented. It was much more like the maroon phenomena that you get throughout the Caribbean basin and in Brazil. It was something that Americans were just totally unfamiliar with. In their own territory, these Black folks were totally in charge. In fact, their leader at that time, Abraham, was known in Muskogee or Creek language. He was known as Suanafe Tastanagi, which means essentially field marshal, commanding general. It's the highest military rank that the Seminoles acknowledged. So they were very, very powerful.
So are they given land and do they join those native groups that have been moved into Indian territory and given land and to settle?
They found themselves in a very dangerous situation they were not accustomed to. The army had helped them leave and helped them leave free, but now they were in a very dangerous position. This is the period, of course, of the so-called five civilized tribes,
right? Yeah,
making the Trail of Tears. They were all from the South. And what most people don't know is that aside from the Seminoles, the other groups, the Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, their elite came with enslaved Black folks.
right.
And they intended to set up the same kind of plantation economy based on slavery in Indian territory if they could. And it was a threat to their interests when they saw the bonds of brotherhood and equality between the Seminole leadership and especially the leaders of the Black group that came west. Today we say Black Seminoles. At that time they called themselves Estalusti, which in Creek just means black or Black people. And so the Creeks in particular, Creeks and the Seminoles spoke the same language. They were absolutely determined that the Seminole leadership was going to actually enslave their Black comrades.
Sure.
And at one point, the Creeks, an armed band of Creeks, came to the largest Black settlement and demanded that the Black folks there surrender their weapons. They said, absolutely not. And it was a standoff, an armed standoff. And the Creeks finally backed off. But many of the Black Seminoles saw the handwriting on the wall. They realized that their position there was not sustainable. They were, after all, they were not in a forest environment anymore.
Right. It's a different
open
terrain.
plains.
Yeah.
They actually tried to plant rice there. They brought seeds. It didn't work for them. But what they did is they decided they had to do as they did in Florida, which is to get across another international border. Right. Slavery was not legal.
And what
in Mexico.
decade? What years?
Well, they arrived about 1838.
Okay.
And by 1850, they decided to go. There was an Indian or Seminole leader. They trusted, and they thought he might become chief. He did not achieve that goal, and his name was Wildcat. Wildcat and some of his followers, and a new Black Seminole leader named Gopher John, or John Horse, and his followers. They crossed. They went on horseback with their families.
Yo, shout out to
forest environment anymore.
It's a different
open
terrain.
plains.
Yeah.
They actually tried to plant rice there. They brought seeds. It didn't work for them. But what they did is they decided they had to do as they did in Florida, which is to get across another international border. Right. Slavery was not legal.
And what
in
decade? What years?
Well, they arrived about 1838.
Okay.
And by 1850, they decided to go. There was an Indian Seminole leader. They trusted, and they thought he might become chief. He did not achieve that goal, and his name was Wildcat. Wildcat and some of his followers, and a new Black Seminole leader named Gopher John, or John Horse, and his followers. They crossed. They went on horseback with their families, their possessions, all the way across Texas and crossed the Rio Grande into desert territory in northern Mexico. On the way, they were attacked by Indians, Comanches, I believe, and some of them were killed, and that caused a kind of blood feud. And when they got into Mexico, the Mexican government granted them land and said, if you will help us fight off the Indian raiders on our frontier here, the same Indians were attacking in Texas, you're free to this land, and be in possession of it as long as you want. And they were, needless to say, very good at that.
Right.
And they had become a kind of professional warriors.
Right. And adjusting along the way. I mean, at this point, I assume that the horse is an important part of their kind of lifestyle on the
Even,
plains.
even
and
in
all.
in Florida
As well.
they
Oh,
were using horses in Florida.
okay.
And they became so famous at this because, I mean, neither the Mexican government nor the U.S. government was very successful at this period in fighting off the Comanches and Apaches on the Texas frontier, Texas-Mexico frontier. So after the Civil War ended, the cavalry actually sent some people down into Mexico to ask the Black Seminoles if any of them would like to return to the United States and join the cavalry. Um, Earlier, I should say, before the Civil War, the Texas Rangers charged down there to try to break up their settlements because some Black folks there were escaping.
As is done when you have Black Seminoles to the south of you.
And to the south of you, and across an international border. And I have the Texas Rangers were routed. There was simply no other word for it. They were driven back across the border, and they never attempted it again. But now the situation obviously had changed after the Civil War, and some of them agreed to come. Now, they did not become Buffalo Soldiers. The Army proposed to them to form a unit of scouts, the same role that Indians played, and they actually formed a unit whose official name was the Seminole Negro Indian Scouts in 1870. And within just a few years, 3 of them had won the Congressional Medal of Honor.
That's amazing.
In a single engagement with the Comanche Indians along the Pecos River. And by the way, the engagement is like something out of an old John Wayne movie. It's their officer had his horse shot out from under him, and a circle of Indians were riding around him, and he was trying to stay not be shot by their guns. I think he was using the carcass of his horse to help protect him. And 2 of the scouts took positions behind the boulder and fired at the Indian circle to distract them. And a 3rd, on horseback, broke through the circle of Indians, raised up the officer, got him back on his horse, and then charged through that circle again. And 3 of them, as I say, won the Medal of Honor.
So were they given, how large was the group? I assume that many brought families as well. Were they given land? Did they see, had they apportioned them then relocated once they crossed and were helping the Army in the wars in the West, or were they kind of hired out and then left to their own devices after?
I am no expert on what went on down there, but I have the impression they were soldiers, and so they had their quarters, they had areas that were allotted to them for themselves and for their families. But the fort, I think, was largely abandoned. After their group, I think, was dismantled early in the 20th century. Right. And I think the fort was largely abandoned, and they obtained some land in that area where they still live. When Professor Hancock went down there in the 1970s, he went to a little town very close to the fort called Bracketville. And somebody had actually come to his office at the University of Texas, had read about him in the newspaper, and his interest in Pidgin and Creole languages, and said, "You want to study a Pidgin or Creole language, you need to go to Bracketville." So he walked into the
He must have been just as dubious about that as you'd been originally.
Probably, although Hancock has done some pretty crazy things in his life and found things that you would never imagine in various parts of the world. But he said he walked into the only little cafe in town and just ordered a cup of coffee. And it was strange to see a white guy walk in there. And he said he just drank his coffee and pretended not to notice anything. And he said they were clearly speaking Gullah. And he had done his doctoral dissertation on Creole, but he had written articles comparing Creole and Gullah. And he had a working knowledge of the language. And he looked up and said a couple of sentences in Gullah. And he said there was just total silence. And finally, the lady who owned the cafe said to him, "Just sit there, do not move." And he said she picked up the phone and called everybody in town, which didn't take very long. Right. And everybody wanted to know, how is this possible? Their historical memory began with Florida. They had no narrative before Florida. Right. And so they had no knowledge of the existence of the Gullah. And they thought they were the only people in the world speaking the language, which they called Tut or flat talk.
Hold on. What do you say?
And
Right.
before with Florida, there's a historical memory. Everybody want to know how is this possible? They There's a historical memory began with Florida. They
Their historical memory began with Florida, not nowhere else. Florida. Their historical memory begins with Florida.
had no memory began with Florida. They had no narrative
Right.
before
Right.
Florida. And so they had no knowledge of the existence of the Gullah, and they thought they were the only people in the world speaking the language, which they called tut or flat talk. And they like the Gullahs. It was something that they used in their community, but not with outsiders. So they had no reason to believe that anybody in the world, would recognize that language, but them.
Now, you have some wonderful stories of Sierra Leoneans speaking Creole coming in, meeting with Gullah people of the Sea Islands, and again, this sense of astonishment that there are people that speak an understandable language. That and I'm sure the feeling was mutual. First, might you tell an example of that? And I guess I'm asking too because I wonder if you've had an opportunity to bring together Gullah people and Black Seminoles.
Yeah, it was my privilege. In 1989, I was able to organize what was called the Gullah Homecoming to Sierra Leone. I had the Sierra Leone government was involved, and the United States Embassy in Sierra Leone as well. And what we did is we brought a group of Gullah folks from South Carolina and Georgia. They were basically community leaders, but all of them deeply immersed in the culture, and a group of Black Seminole leaders. Actually, two Black Seminole leaders from Oklahoma, and they were actually on the Seminole Tribal Council at that time. And they came together to Sierra Leone for a 1 week homecoming, and it was a national event. They were
Oh, what happened? What happened? Say it again. What happened?
Mitchell, first, might you tell an example of that? And I guess I'm asking too because I wonder if you've had an opportunity to bring together Gullah people and Black Seminoles.
Yeah, it was my privilege. In 1989, I was able to organize what was called the Gullah Homecoming to Sierra Leone. I had the Sierra Leone government was involved, and the United States Embassy in Sierra Leone as well. And what we did is we brought a group of Gullah folks from South Carolina and Georgia. They were basically community leaders, but all of them deeply immersed in the culture, and a group of Black Seminole leaders. Actually, two Black Seminole leaders from Oklahoma, and they were actually on the Seminole Tribal Council at that time. And they came together to Sierra Leone for a 1 week homecoming, and it was a national event. They were invited by the president of Sierra Leone, and I remember there was a state dinner, and of course rice was served, the local rice dishes, and it was dreamlike to me because I'm sitting there in State House, the center of power in Sierra Leone, with my Black Seminole friends from Oklahoma, I knew well, and Gullah friends that I had also knew quite well, and listening to them speak Gullah to each other, and also listening to them comment on how similar or dissimilar this or that rice dish is to one that they had. And in fact, I spent the entire week with them, and we harvested rice in a rice field and traveled through the country doing various things. And I was with them the whole time, listening to them discuss the similarities between the culture there in Sierra Leone and their own, and then the similarities between their own two cultures. And basically, I mean, they had been separated for at least 150 years, their two communities. And to watch them come together in the rice growing area of West Africa was an amazing experience. They all felt extremely at home. They all felt that they belonged there.
Yeah, it's a wonderful story.
Yeah, and let me say too, I was involved after Hancock convinced me of this connection. I actually went to the Seminole County, to the area where they live, and I had no real introductions at that point. My goal was basically at first just to find out if they were still speaking this language.
Right.
Hancock had not been to Oklahoma. He felt that they probably were in the same situation as the scouts in Texas, and probably knew Gullah, at least the older people.
Uh-huh.
And so I didn't know Gullah at that point, and I just thought, well, Sierra Leone Creole is close enough. And can you imagine going into a rural part of Oklahoma, where I'd never been before, determined to speak a language I'd learned in Africa to people right there in my home state. And my strategy was, if they look at me like I'm crazy, I'll know they have no context for this. I was pretty sure they wouldn't talk to me in Afro Seminole, but if they sort of look at me like, what is he up to? Not,
Right.
No fear, just
Uh-huh.
curiosity. Probably that was a good sign. So I saw several teenagers, and I just got out of the car and came up and greeted them, and they didn't look that surprised. And then I shifted to English, and I said, have you ever heard anybody speak like this? And they were quiet for a while. And then one of the boys said, well, my grandpa talks a bit like that. I said, really? I said, can you give me an example? And he said, yeah, he never tells you to turn off the light. He says, hatch the light. And in Sierra Leone, that's ot the light. And I thought that's pretty similar.
Oh, boy.
And it made me a little bit bold. And I went to a house. And I saw a house that was basically a cabin. And I walked up to the porch. I had been warned by some black folks in Seminole, in the town of Seminole. They don't like strangers out there. And as a white person in particular, they're not going to see you there. And so an elderly man came out, and I told him I was I was a grad student at the University of Oklahoma and what I was doing. And he looked at me and he said, I don't think you're here to do anything bad, but you have to understand that, he said, there had been lynchings here within living memory.
Right.
And he said, it's not safe for you, and you really shouldn't be coming here. And he said it to me in such an unthreatening way, almost like an elder, just,
Right.
wanting to advise me. I had to take it seriously. And I went back to Oklahoma City, where I lived, happy at what I'd learned, but at the same time thinking breaking in with those folks may not be possible.
Right.
And then I learned, it's a long story, that they were in fact suing the Seminole Nation, or in the process of bringing some sort of action against them, because at that point the Indians on the tribal council were refusing to share any of the federal benefits with either the black
Right.
members of the council or the larger group of black Seminoles in the area. And their lawyers needed a historian who could lay out the history to show, in particular, that the black members of the Seminole tribe had fought just as hard, in my view, harder than the Indians had. I wouldn't say harder. They had a greater capacity to fight in Florida than probably anyone did at
Right.
that period. And they needed somebody who could make that case historically. And so I found out who their lawyer was. I went to see him, and he said, I can introduce you to them. In fact, we need your help. But if they don't like,
This is his outline right here. This is his outline right here. We're going to go through it for sure. This is his outline right here that he took to the lawyer. He also got the lawyer in here talking also. This is the outline right here. We're going to look through it. That's a fact. We're going to dig all in this. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. We're going to dig all in that.
like you, they're just not going to let me bring you in. And he arranged for me to give a talk on what I knew of their history up to that point, to a group of their elders. I gave the talk, and I had some slides to show. And to my surprise, there were no questions. And they sort of marched out of the room and held a.
But just like I say, I'm going to go on and try to fill in the blanks. I'm going to fill in the blanks where there's some holes in her with historical facts. I'm going to go on and fill in the blanks. You know what I'm saying? My peoples didn't have what we have today to be able to get to the information how it is, just like right at our fingertips now. You know what I'm saying? And I want to definitely give a shout out to him for helping my folks. I want to give a shout out to him for helping my folks. You know what I'm saying? For trying to help. But the fight is niggas indigenous over here. Yeah, nigga being over here. Yeah, that's the fight. Yeah, it's a whole new fight now. And I really ain't even tripping on what the Seminoles say. That's a fact because it's definitely looking like from what the historical records, it's looking like that niggas was here before they even came down from the north. You know what I'm saying? So I'm definitely gonna put in the holes. I'm definitely gonna fill in the holes on her. This is this whole outline for the courts. And just like I say, I mean, I just think that they kind of went at the wrong angle instead of showing that they was found in indigenous people that is part of the indigenous people of America. He should have been pushing that line, but it's all good. It's like I say, at least he tried to do something. At least he dug up in something and got us something. Cause there's some good stuff up in there. Some good angles. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna try to just keep on building. But just like I say, one thing that I thought that was kind of funny about it, ain't no gully in there nowhere.
Held a conference among themselves, and it was at a small college in Seminole County, and I sat on a bench in the hall, just waiting like an expectant father, you know. And they filed out and went to their cars and went home after just a brief discussion with the lawyer. And he came over and just patted me on the head and said, "You're in." And he said, "And it'll be a trial." He said, he was a local state senator. He said, "Joe, it's going to be a trial by fire." And I said, "Why is that?" And he said, "They want you to present the same history to the full tribal council with all the Seminole leaders there."
And that was just the audition.
That was just the audition. And he said, "Joe, it's not going to be pretty." And he said, "Are you up to this?" And I said, I'll do it. I'll do it. And I had one meeting with the community, which was lovely. And they started inviting me into their homes then. And I was kind of astonished by the rice dishes that they served me. And then we had this confrontation in the tribal council. And there was so much yelling in Creek, angry yelling. I was quite afraid to get up and speak, but they agreed. And
had the wrong person in there. He's scared to speak. He's scared to speak. You know what I'm saying? He come in trying to do what he do, but it's gonna be a whole new fight this time. I promise you.
The lawyer just patted me on the shoulder and said, "Joe, give them both barrels, then duck for the arrows." And so I got up and I told him, the story of what the generals had said and how, that the blacks had been the spear point, and that, they provided a major force to protect Seminole lands during the war. And I got it through about 5 minutes.
He only got through 5 minutes. I'm gonna go into niggas was here before they say that the creeks even came down. Yeah, that's what I'm fist to master. That's a fact.
Of it. And there were some racial insults that were yelled from the group. And then they charged us during the war. and I got it through about 5 minutes of it. And there were some racial insults that were yelled from the group, and then they charged us. Literally, they grabbed me, and they grabbed the lawyer, and they grabbed the 6 black councilmen, and literally just held us up off the ground, and marched us through the door of the council house, and literally tossed us on the ground, and then immediately locked the door. And I was told that they came back in and they passed a resolution that a lawyer would never enter that council house again. But it made the front page of the Oklahoma City Times, and it helped the cause of the Black Seminoles a lot. It got the public's attention for the first time.
So, what was the outcome of that battle?
It just became endless.
That's crazy that this white man went up there and helped the Black Seminoles out, but we ain't never hear this shit coming up out of this quote unquote Black Seminole in the chat that just keep running his mouth, typing 1,000 miles an hour, trying to argue with everybody in the chat about something. And he just keeps making up stuff, 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 and he ain't got no business to stand on. And here you go, this man comes over here, does something that benefits Black Seminoles, and this nigga don't know nothing about it.
Been right in my fingertips the whole time. I told you, man, I'm locked in, man, with the fam, bam, man. It ain't nothing to get to it. Like, I just ain't nigga coming up, nigga saying anything, nigga being locked in, nigga being getting these stories passed down. Man, this shit fits to get crazy, man. It's really fits to get crazy, man. And, man, it's all for the peoples, man. That's a fact, man. So I be seeing, man, little videos, man, how some of the women be crying and shit, how they can't get the benefits for this and can't get this and can't get that. And you know, how they just be holding a lot of stuff back from us, you know what I'm saying? Being holding a lot of stuff back from us. You know, some of us ain't tripping. We gonna, you know what I'm saying, we gonna do what we do, but you know what I'm saying, there's some good people out here that need that. You know what I'm saying? They been hating on us for a long time, but we first to push this line with this information, man. That's a fact.
And they ain't even eating.
They have had
False flagging.
And they have not had unfortunately support of the Bureau of Indian Affairs or in the end because of a lot of legal maneuvering, right, and changes that they were helpless to stop in the Constitution among the Seminoles, they essentially just had to give it up, give up that effort to get federal benefits.
Right.
And Sean P was just level 1, man. We got him out the way. I mean, it's a whole different fight over here, man. Yeah, it's a whole different fight of why we gathering information, man. Yeah, that was just to wake me up. Yeah, that was just to wake me up. That was just a little slap box. Get them out. There's a whole different fight for us to go on over here that these niggas don't know about, nigga. This shit fits to really get real. This shit fits to really get real. For real, though.
In the process, though, I guess the one good thing that's come out of it is that they are very much more self-aware now.
Yeah,
and the younger people, especially coming up, are working very hard to make people in Oklahoma aware of who they are.
Right. Well, it damn sure ain't
man, shut up.
Take the Africa.
You
do with
you done.
My last question.
This nigga ain't nothing. He ain't got nothing coming.
Everything to do with you.
He ain't got no information.
And why they're important.
And that kind of is my last question. Really, is I'm familiar with the Gullah people of South Carolina and Georgia and the struggles they've gone through recently to retain their culture and how they're embattled by struggle over retaining land. Land is very important, but also, of course, a sense of community. Many of them are kind of dispersed. It's hard to find work. It's hard to kind of maintain themselves. How is the situation for the Black Seminoles of Texas and Oklahoma? Are they kind of going through? What's the prognosis?
I don't live in Oklahoma anymore, though I went there recently. When I was there, I spoke to Black Seminole woman who's one of the most powerful state senators.
Oh, good.
In the state, and I was very, very impressed.
That's my kinfolk, Anastasia, that he talking about. I'm definitely finna go on and lock in with her as soon as I get my game tight with this information and my argument tight to lock in with the senator. That's why I'm saying these niggas don't know what the fuck going on, man. These niggas don't know. These niggas just hate us, man. Niggas just be hating, nigga. Busters.
Impressed by her. I met and I spoke to her daughter as well, who's in her 20s, and who's like an activist now. My impression is that people are doing well.
Good.
Though they've moved out of that rural area, they're probably mostly in Oklahoma City at this point.
Yeah.
So I think economically they're doing well. And I don't know what to say except that what a change. I mean, when I was with them in the 70s, nobody knew who they were. Right. And they themselves, beyond a few top leaders, were not. And they in fact, they let their lawyer handle pretty much everything. But now, so many of the young people are there going to schools and doing various things to acquaint people in Oklahoma with who they are and why their history is so important. And I should say, too, there have been exchanges. Some of the Black Seminoles from Oklahoma and Texas have gone to cultural festivals, Gullah cultural festivals.
Oh, wonderful.
In South Carolina and Georgia, and very well received. I should add, many people among the Gullah know who they are now. And some Gullah folks have not only gone to...
He said, know who they are now, as of we didn't know who we were before. So that's some of the things I'm attacking. He's saying that we know who we are now, just because we hooked up with some Gullah. I don't know if he wants some type of award or if he wants some type of appraisal for doing something or some type of something. But that ain't the fact. You know what I'm saying? But that ain't the fact for us. Or not the majority of us. And I'm going to keep bringing in, like I say, I already got one of my people's already recorded. I'm going to get some of the other old heads. I'm going to just keep getting old heads. I'm going to just keep on record sit downs with old head interviews from Weetown. When I go down there, go see my grandma and my daddy, my aunties. And I'm going to try to, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to try to get some old head Indians. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to try to get some old head Indians. And you know what I'm saying? Do some interviews and just put the history out there. For real, though. Like I said, I'm going to go and start with the family close. For to have that Cudjoe reunion, so there's going to be people coming back from Frisco and Oakland. There'll be some people coming up from Texas. So I should be able to, gather some good information, for the next generation and for the kids to be able to, keep on building on the heritage.
Oklahoma. They've also gone down to Texas and even into Mexico to meet the people there. So
Yeah.
150 years or more of isolation from one another. That's totally broken.
It's it's a wonderful story. It's a wonderful American story, and it's really a wonderful Atlantic world story.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Can you recommend anyone who's interested in the topic some readings that they might have?
Well, one book in particular I'd recommend called The Black Seminoles by Kenneth Wiggins Porter.
Sure.
And it's a University of Florida Press book. And it has a fantastic bibliography, I might add.
Well, thanks so much, Joe. It's great having you. We're going to have you back again, and I should close by saying you're going to be instrumental in a wonderful international teachers institute that we're building with teachers here in Connecticut and teachers in Sierra Leone that you're going to be a part of. So, thanks for being here, my friend.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm looking forward to the project.
And I got his whole outline right here, but he only got to put in 5 minutes of work before they got kicked out the council. I got the whole outline right here. Just like I say, man, I'm definitely appreciate him putting in this work right here. This is all primary. All this is primary. This is his whole outline. This is a 1980 write-up, 1980 something write-up. We're gonna dig all into this day by day, page by page. We're gonna get to it. That's a fact. But it's all about the truth. It's all about the truth, man. And just like I say, this is definitely for my peoples. Cause some of my peoples do believe that, that shit niggas for slavery come from Africa. Some of the peoples, just like I say, believe that black people was already over here in America. You know what I'm saying? That's the same thing that I push. That's the same thing that I believe. But I'm gonna try to put some, some primaries behind it though. I'll keep doing my little bills, keep doing my little studies. And we're gonna get to the bottom. One thing that I do want to show is that when they had the little John Horse get down here, I'm not gonna say John Horse get down, but when they had the John Horse Highway revealing.
Did you know?
They had the John Horse Highway revealing. It was some I just want to show the chief talking about the situation when we did get ran up out of Wewoka the first time. And I'm kind of just gonna show that part. What else? What else on her? And also gonna point out the fact that that John Horse was raised in the village. Gonna point out, they also gonna talk about how the Indian agent was really a slave catcher, really. It's like I say, how it's all playing into when the government is all, it's basically, hiring people that's paying to be able to hunt black people or be able to buy black people. You know what I'm saying? The government, which I'm gonna point all that out, where the government telling them themselves. You know what I'm saying? There gotta be some type of argument in court on how the government was in on the indigenous people and still in today because they still ain't broke us off the equal right benefits. And, they trying to depend on government's information. We got to use the world's information. So, hold on, let me. This up real quick. So we got this real quick. So we got the chief of the Barkis tribe right here. We got the chief of the Barkis tribe right here talking. We're gonna have the chief of the Seminole come in. They're gonna be talking about John Horse a little bit. I'm also gonna show my kinfolk Anastasia, the senator, that he was talking about. Let me hear the OG real quick.
Connected to John Horse. But then you go on a little farther, we all are connected to your son. That's right. We all are connected. And that's one thing that we all need to recognize is how much we're connected and stop all of the fussing and fighting amongst one another. That's right. But we can do things together, and this is one thing that we have to do. So I want to welcome everybody. I want to welcome all those that came from afar. And I may not know your title or the name of your organization, but right now you can have an opportunity to stand and tell us your name and your title of your organization that you represent.
We got people coming in from Texas and the John Horse bracket. You got a lot of OGs talking. Let me kind of get past that real quick. Let me let the chief talk.
Beautiful. Yeah. All right. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to pass this hat around because I got something to say. We're here in this museum, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to use this museum. It don't cost us anything. Richard put this together in a one-day notice. He had to call in workers. And I just want to show him my gratitude and thankfulness for his help. And I want to give this museum a donation for their help and concern, for allowing us to come here today. Is that okay? That's all right. Is that okay? All right. Brother, that's okay. That's okay. I just want to do that at a time from my heart. And if you don't have anything, that's fine. If you do, that's fine. Just trying to donate to the museum for help. You can pass this around. It's not an obligation. It's not an obligation. All right. Now, at this time, I want to also recognize someone that we cannot, if he's last, he's not least. And that's our chief of the Seminole name, Louis Johnson. Brian Palmer. So we're going to thank them for the food. They paid for the food. It's pretty good. That's right. Make sure we thank them, but we're not fast to have them. That's right. All right. Okay, my business is about over, and I just want to say, this is something that began and was created, that I thought of in my mind, to put the signs up, and for me to see everybody here today, and it come to fruition. I just want to thank everybody, the Pittman, the AJ, everybody, the people that bought, paid for the signs. I want to thank you, everybody that's here to celebrate this occasion. You just don't know what you know. Because I know you hold this, and I'm thankful that I'm here today.
Keep it on him, because it's live. It's on Facebook.
And make this happen. So I just want to thank everybody. And it's an honor to stand here before you. All right? Turn this over into the hand of someone that the clouds open up when you walk through. Ms. Anastasia Pittman, our council rep, our second Terry.
Juanita, let's sit up, bring your chair over here.
Richard, let him see who you are. This is the man he's walking on. And you don't even have to pay.
So that's my kin folk right there. It's Anastasia Pittman, one of the senators out here. And it's like I say, kin folk on my mama's side, on my grandma's side. And it's like I say, man, I'll be able to tap in with her, man. Hopefully, probably one day be able to bring her on. You know what I'm saying? Probably be able to, get the channel up, you know, get the channel up, and you know what I'm saying, and bring her on one day, you know what I'm saying, so she can share some information and stuff like that, man. That's a fact. Man, I probably need to get more kid friendly, man. I probably need to be a little bit more positive instead of, being, kind of coming how I be coming, be more family friendly and stuff like that. But it's all good, you know what I'm saying? I'm learning, getting more better with with my videos and getting more better with with putting out the information instead of being more up in like a argument type state. You know what I'm saying? Just be in a, giving information type state. But I want to give a shout out to Miss Pittman and everybody involved right here. Let me go on and get to the chief real quick, talking about what he was going to talk about real quick.
Promise that we all have. But let's do a moment of silence. He did so much.
Okay, now this is the sub chief pulling up right here. That's in the suit, and he gonna give a small history on John Horse.
Alongside each other. Assistant Chief of Seminole Nation, Oklahoma, Brian P. Palmer. Thank you, Jonathan, for that introduction. It's always humbling to be able to, as he said, walk alongside him. It's great to be here today to see the collaboration and the effort to honor John Horse. My tribal band, the Still-Got Argo Band, was originally the Oconee people. John Horse was raised among the Oconee people. So you see that throughout the history of all of our people, there's that connection and that link that ties all of us.
Okay, so he said he come from the Harjo Band. Originally the Oconee Band. Bring that back.
It's always humbling to be able to, as he said, walk alongside him. It's great to be here today to see the collaboration and the effort to honor John Horse. My tribal band, the Still-Got Argo Band, was originally the Oconee people. John Horse was raised among the Oconee people. So
John Horse was raised among the Oconee people. Raised, not slaved.
Be able to, as he said, walk alongside him. It's great to be here today to see the collaboration and the effort to honor John Horse. My tribal band, the Still-Got Argo Band, was originally the Oconee people. John Horse was raised among the Oconee people. So you see that throughout the history of all of our people, there's that connection and that link that ties all of us together. And it's really great to be here, to be a part of this ceremony, to honor John Horse. Thank you for inviting us.
Let me go on and bring that back one more time.
As he said, it's always humbling to be able to, as he said, walk alongside him. It's great to be here today to see the collaboration and the effort to honor John Horse. My tribal band, the Still-Got Argo Band, was originally the Oconee people. John Horse was raised among the Oconee people.
He come from the Harjo Band. The Oconee people and John Horse was raised with the Oconee people.
So you see that throughout the history.
And right now the chief is to tell the story about what happened in Wewoka. When we got ran up out of Wewoka, and what the situation is. For to hear the chief talk about it.
A lot of people know this, and some of you may.
So we got so I know everybody except, you know what I'm saying, for the chief and the assistant chief. You know what I'm saying? I know the OG right here. I met this lady right here that turned out to be Peoples. John Horse descended niece. And her father's in the crowd. They coming up from Texas. They come from that Bracketville. We got my kinfolk Anastasia and her daughter. But hopefully, one day that I'll be able to meet the chiefs and the assistant chiefs and be able to, share the information and see if we can make this right. If not, nigga just have to just go over their head. But it got to be addressed though, because there's some information that they missing. And it's probably some information also that they got also that can, be able to help the situation. But I want to give a shout out to Tillman. That's Mr. Tillman right there. Want to give a shout out to Miss Valquez. And I want to give a shout out to the Pittmans. And I also want to give a shout out to the Chiefs, even though I don't know them. But, you know what I'm saying? We got some type of connection through the Seminole, and I'm just going to respect it on that.
I'll leave my remarks to be very brief today. I know you've got some excellent speakers coming forth and you'll be sharing things. They had asked me to play a song on these native blues. And definitely Wewoka is proud to have the history of John Horse aligned with it. And I know not a lot of people know this, and some of you may. Back before right about the Civil War period, a little bit after that, there was a delegation that was coming from the east, I mentioned a tribal bus, which was a large delegation, and they came here to this area, the Boca area. And what they did is we didn't have land of our own at the time, Seminole Nation, and they shared that all those that are persons of African descent among the Seminoles must lay all their arms in, and that they were violating the.
See, when you say an African descent, I don't know if he just being legally correct or if he just, being saying it like that instead of saying, Seminole Negro or saying, Black Seminole or saying Negro Seminole or just saying Estella or whatever that word is, which I'm gonna have to figure that word out. I'm gonna have to step up my indigenous language side and turn on my Hitchity and turn on my Muskogean and get that tongue working pause. But You know, that's some of the stuff that I want to correct them on. You know what I'm saying? African descent. And I want them to be able to prove to us that we are from Africa for them to, for them to acting like they standing on that. But he finna tell the story and I'm finna get up out of here for the night. I'm gonna bring that back real quick.
Persons of African descent among the Seminoles, those that are persons of African descent among the Seminoles. What they did is we didn't have land of our own at the time, Seminole Nation, and they shared that all those that are persons of African descent among the Seminoles must lay all their arms in, and that they were violating the laws of that time with that particular proclamation. And not only would they have to lay their arms down, but they could no longer congregate among the Seminole people in townships. And a lot of people don't know this, but this is a true happening. The Seminole Indians at that time came to the aid of John Horse and those others that were in this area. And they came, and even though they were outnumbered, most likely 10, 15 to 1, they said, how do you expect a man without his rifle? How do you expect him to protect his family without his rifle?
So we got the chief saying that whenever they did come up, if you can go listen to my bills that I done put down with the primary sources that I done dealt with about the primary sources, but they were talking about how they came into Iwoka and they had that battle like that. And we got the chief saying right here that we got the chief saying right here that whenever they did come in, that it was 15 or 10 to 1. It was 10 to 1, 15 to 1, 10 to 15 to each black Seminole. And they still didn't put down their guns and they told the people, how do you expect a man to die? So we got the chief just giving it up and saying that this is a true story. That whenever so basically this was the situation. So when we came out here, we were supposed to be free. But when we came out here, the people started tripping. So General Jessup had to come back out here and set the record straight. So that's why, so he came out here in like 1849. That's why in 1850, John Horse was able to find Wewoka. But the Creeks were still tripping. The Creeks been tripping the whole time from what I've been finding out. The Creeks been in the way. And they ended up linking up with the Seminole agent, and they end up linking up with some white boys, and they end up linking up with some Cherokees. They end up linking up with some Choctaws and some Chickashays, and they came like, so they say it was about 600 people in the town, right? I think it was like 400 to 600 people in the town, as far as black people in the town in Wewoka. So they came like 1,000 deep with warriors. You know what I'm saying? They came 1,000 deep, and that's how they had to get at us like that. So we talking about, okay, so let's say 400 to 600. The majority of it is gonna be women and children, and some people got caught up and some people didn't, but it was kind of crazy to hear the chief talk about it and say, yeah, it's a true story. Yeah, they was outnumbered 10, 15 to 1, but they still told the people, how do you expect a man to die? You know what I'm saying? So Yeah, just wasn't no pushover. Niggas just didn't run easy. It went down and niggas moved around.
The time came, the age of John Horse and those others that were in this area. And they came, and even though they were outnumbered, most likely 10, 15 to 1, they said, how do you expect a man without his rifle? How do you expect him to protect his family without his rifle? At that time, there was still slave trafficking going on even in Indian territory. The Indian agent at that time was a part of it during that period of time. So there was plans on that day. The Seminole people came together during that time.
Once again, the government, this is going back. This is going back to when the United States first got control of Florida. They been planning raids. This is another raid that they planned. This is another raid that they planned. The government been part of hunting black people. And they telling on themselves.
Stood up what going on even in Indian territory. The Indian agent at that time was a part of it during that period of time. Without his rifle. At that time, there was still slave trafficking going on even in Indian territory. The Indian agent at that time was a part of it during that period of time. So there was plans on that day. The Seminole people came together during that time and stood for what the Creator expects us to do is to stand for one another and in time of need. And that is a true story. And because they didn't want a lot of attention brought to it, the Indian agent began to settle things down. And eventually he was.
What it do? Milestone thoughts hit the mall, everything he bought. Nah, man, nothing, man, was just showing, man, that a nigga really homegrown with this shit, man. Nigga got the whole outline book, been having a whole outline book at the fingertips since I was a child. Nigga ain't just be coming on the internet, following niggas on the internet. Nah, nigga, nigga was born into this shit, not, you know what I'm saying? Not sworn. Born, not sworn into this, man. And and I was just showing the peoples that this is the twins that I've been showing on the videos that went to go hook up with my Aunt Helen, Lance and Lauren, that I said that was Harlem Globetrotters. And it turns out, man, that I had it turns out, man, that I saw the white boy that that I had said that he was wrong with saying that he was connecting us to the Gullah. And just like I said, I definitely appreciate him helping us out and trying to, getting us established to saying, that the Indians was cheating us. But I got a whole nother fight, but I got this whole outline. I got this whole outline. You know what I'm saying? I got this whole outline of his whole history. So, man, I was just showing that to the peoples that, so I'm going to be breaking that down page by page, day by day, giving up that information and just filling in the blanks and hopefully be able to bring a better argument for my peoples on this go around with the government and the Seminole so that we can be able to get full benefits and be able to get back benefits, showing that we are indigenous people within America, just like how they was found over here, and just like how they feel like they got, they got to fight within this, that this is their soil. I'm saying, and this is our soil also, and I'm just to fill in those blanks. But now I'm just showing the chief in them, this was the last time. I ain't gonna say it's the last time, but this is, I want to say it's the last time on camera or showing the Black Seminoles and the Seminole Indians together within one. We was honoring John Horace, the highway revealing, and the chief came in there and had just got done sharing a story about what happened in Wewoka when we had a internal war. So it almost seemed like one of the last eternal wars, but I think we had something like that afterwards during the Civil War. You know what I'm saying? When some of us had went to go, some of us was fighting for the Union and some of us was fighting for the Confederate out here. So I'll be able to bring that story too, but let me finish this up for the night.
No longer needed nation at that period of time. But this song kind of brings everything together. And the passion of the chief of the Seminoles has been in office so long, it makes me think of this song. Because even though our hearts are saddened, we also know that we believe in a land outside of this walks of life that we live in present, and that greatest happiness is truly our happiness. It is. His happiness truly is our happiness. A lot of times, as human beings around the world, we don't align with that, and sometimes it just makes the miserable folk. We know that his happiness is our happiness. We call it "All My Thoughts Be Done." It's a song we often sing among us as Seminole people, and I'm going to play that today on the Native American Poetry. Thank you for being here today. I know we've got some great speakers ahead, and we should have been thanks. Welcome to Wewoka. Thank you, Chief.
And it's like I say, man, this is all homegrown Black Seminole Nation history. You know what I'm saying? That I'm kicking over here, man. That's a fact. So just keep tuning in. Why this should be messing up like this, man? This shit crazy. That shit crazy. But it's like I say, I was just bringing this to the forefront that we're gonna dive into this right here. Gonna have some good sessions. Definitely get ready to pull up and roll up. You know what I'm saying? Have a session with me and get to some of this Black American history and see what's up. Just another chapter in the book of the Strictly Ghetto Engine, SGI. It's like I say, man, I know I've been trying to tell myself to be more kid friendly, but I guess I'm trying to work on it or whatever. But I was just bringing that to the light. That's crazy how that went down. Uh, I definitely think that the information that I've been coming with being solid, uh, like I say, just showing the Black Seminole history and Black people being found in America, being the Indian Aboriginal Americans, and I'm gonna just keep on pushing that. I'm gonna just keep on pushing that, man. That's a fact. Hold on, man. Let me, cause I gotta end it right. I don't know why I just went out like that. It's crazy. It be tripping. But I appreciate everybody tapping in. Just you was able to hear. Ain't too many people been able to hear the Seminole Chief sing a song and play the Indian instrument. I bring you the exclusives over here. We really gonna get to it. Appreciate everybody tapping in. We got Milestone Thoughts at the mall. Everything he bought. We got Hero Da Vinci. I think that may be Cuzzo from out there in the Bay, but I don't know. I have to tap in. That's my first time seeing the name, but he said good work, Cuzzo. So I don't know if that's my people's, or if that's just some good internet love. But we gonna keep it going though.